So if you're going through a really painful breakup and you've been online looking, or you've talked to some friends, you've probably heard of no contact. The truth is, it's an effective way to get somebody else's attention. It's an effective way to get somebody to reconsider a breakup. It's not a guarantee. There's already going to be somebody in the comments saying if somebody doesn't want you, you should walk away, never take somebody back that's already rejected you. Put all that aside. The truth is, I promise you, I've seen it work. I've seen it work thousands of times, and it can be an effective way to pull somebody back. Even if you're in the middle of what feels like the deepest, strongest panic maybe that you've ever felt in a relationship. But the truth is, it's a scary thing because it's illogical. It goes against your nature. It goes against your intuition. And if you're in pain, pain triggers a sense of crisis. A sense of crisis triggers the sense of, I need to do something. And you want to do something quick. You want to do something that makes sense. You want to do something effective. And the most logical thing, the most instinctive thing to do after a painful breakup is to talk that person out of it. Another aspect of it, it seems like they're close. It's almost like it's a physical distance. If they were with you yesterday, if the two of you were together yesterday and they just broke up with you, even though that's an emotional breakup, it feels like physically they're still within reach. All I have to do is reach out and grab them. And the emotional metaphor of reaching out and grabbing them is, I need to remind them who I am. I need to remind them how happy we are. I need to remind them that we belong together. In your panic, and because of the recency of the breakup, it's so instinctive and powerful for you to think they're still close. They just broke up with me 12 hours ago, 24 hours ago, 48 hours ago. But that sense of closeness is only on your side. If they broke up with you, they're actually feeling stronger. They've actually felt, they're probably feeling like they just did something difficult, something that they've probably been dreading and in a way looking forward to. And now they have a sense of strength. They're in that relief stage. So even though to you, in your pain, in your crisis, it feels like the thing that you want most is still just out of arm's reach. And the best way to close that distance is to reach out and convince them that you're the one they're supposed to be with. And all you have to do is remind them how they felt yesterday, how they felt last week. So it's a really powerful instinct. So going into no contact is going to feel unnatural. It's going to feel wrong. It's going to feel like you're pretending. It's going to feel like you're acting like you don't care and you just lost something that means the world to you. So how in the world does that make sense? So the reason I'm making this video is if you're thinking about going in no contact, I hope you watch this whole thing. It'll kind of give you a mental foundation, an emotional foundation, so you know what you're doing, you know why you're doing it, and hopefully when that crisis, that panic, that desperation hits, you'll have some reminders of why you're doing what you're doing. The reason it's important that you understand how no contact works and if it's right for you, and the truth is it's not right for everybody. In most cases, it's the most effective thing, but it's not always the most effective thing. It doesn't work in every situation. I'm not trying to pretend like it does. But one of the things you don't want to do is do it out of a sense of panic. Do it because everybody else is telling you to do it. And a lot of your friends will be recommending no contact. Friends recommend no contact more often than they embrace it because it's a difficult thing to do. So if you're feeling like, okay, everybody's telling me I should do this and I've just chased for the last 3 days and that hasn't worked, so maybe I'll think about doing no contact. The reason I made this video is one of the things you don't want to do is try the no contact route and try it for a few days. Try it for a week. Try it for 2 weeks. You don't want to try just long enough to try to fake strength because that's going to trigger more panic in you. And as soon as it doesn't work, if you give it 2 weeks, if you give it 3 weeks, and that person gets further away and you're not prepared, if you don't understand what you're doing, a really strong impulse or a really loud internal voice is going to start screaming at you. What are you doing? This isn't working. It's already been 2 weeks and you haven't heard from them. Maybe they even started dating somebody else. You're a fool. You need to jump back into the fight. You need to fight for them. Maybe that's why they're leaving you. Maybe you never really made them feel important enough to begin with. And now you're accepting the breakup. You're going to regret this the rest of your life. You're going to get that voice screaming at you. And if you give into that voice, after you tried no contact for such a short amount of time, you just made it worse. They're not going to believe you as quickly the next time. You just showed fake strength and then you gave the bluff away. And now you're in a worse position because now they're going to feel more powerful. Because if they've noticed that you went into no contact and pulled away, whether they told you or not, human nature makes it very likely that they probably noticed and it probably dinged their ego. It probably did get their attention. The truth is, human nature, we like knowing the person still wants to be with us, even if we don't want to be with them. Well, if you go into no contact short term and then immediately come out of it because it's scarier, what you've done is just convince the person that broke up with you they're even stronger. You've just reinforced to them that even though it looked for a second like you were strong enough to walk away, which instinctively will trigger re-examination. Now, maybe it didn't trigger enough re-examination for them to actually come back to you. Maybe it didn't trigger enough reattraction for them to take back the decision to break up with you. But if you were chasing and then you stopped, they did notice. They did feel it. But then if you come back too soon, all of a sudden they feel even more emboldened. They feel even stronger than they did before you tried no contact. And now you feel worse because now you're second guessing yourself, thinking, if I hadn't tried no contact for that 2 weeks, what if I had just kept chasing them? Now, chances are if you had kept chasing them, they'd be even further away, but you don't know that. So now you're tormenting yourself for not doing no contact, then doing no contact, and now you're left with nothing because if you chased, I can almost guarantee you it didn't work. And now you're thinking, now I've got to start no contact all over again, and they're probably not going to believe me this time. It's going to take longer for it to take effect. So if you're going to do it, understand why you're doing it. Make sure you're prepared to do it emotionally because it is a challenge, and be ready to stick with it. One of the other things to consider before you go into no contact, you don't want to have all these conversations with yourself after you start doing no contact. It backfires on you. So one of the first questions you need to ask yourself, did I cause the breakup? There are a few situations when doing no contact can backfire. One of those situations, and I'm really trying to make sure I explain this well, is if you caused the breakup. Now, what does that mean, you caused the breakup? Well, that can mean anything from I wasn't working hard enough, I wasn't making enough time for them, I wasn't taking them out to eat enough, I didn't like get along with their family. I mean, you could come up with a million reasons why you broke the relationship. So let's try to clarify it and make it as easy as we can. If you caused the breakup, I don't mean you caused it because you were imperfect. I don't mean that you caused it because you had flaws. I don't even mean you caused it because you had consistent flaws. When I say don't do no contact the traditional way if you caused the breakup, I mean something unmissable. I mean, like, did you cheat on them? Were you abusive? And I don't mean accidentally abusive because you lost your temper a couple of times. I mean, did you hurt them? I mean, look, is there an arrest warrant out for you? Do you have a well-earned restraining order? Is there an order of protection against you and you know you deserve one? Did you hit on their girlfriend? Did you run over their dog? Did you push their grandmother down the stairs? If you're asking yourself, did I cause the breakup? When you're in pain and you just felt rejected by somebody you didn't expect to be rejecting you, one of the things pain will do is it'll make us kind of like put a spotlight on ourselves and do a really deep dive, and we'll come up with all these authentic insights, all these moments that we know we messed up, that we could have done better, mistakes we shouldn't have made, things that if we had a chance to do over again, we would have done better. So a good person can convince themselves they caused the breakup. That doesn't mean they caused it. Just because you're imperfect, just because you had flaws, doesn't mean that you need to keep chasing and apologizing and trying to prove your love and your remorse by an endless string of pursuing apologies. It doesn't work. So when I say, did you cause the breakup, what I'm talking about is, did you do something that you'd be ashamed to tell your parents that you did? Did you do something that if they had done to you, you would have broken up with them? That's a good one to kind of do a check to see if you actually caused the breakup. A lot of people will call me sometimes and say, I want to do no contact, but I've seen some of your videos, and I know you said if you caused the breakup, you should take accountability for that before you go into no contact. I think I caused the breakup. Well, what you did to them that you now are convinced caused this person who promised to love you forever to now walk away from you. If they had done to you what you're beating the hell out of yourself for doing to them, would you have walked away from them? Most of the time when I ask somebody that question, they say, no, I would have forgiven them. Or no, I would have talked to them about it. I would have tried to work it out. So if you would forgive them for what you've done, or you would have tried to talk to them to resolve it before you walked away, chances are you didn't cause the breakup. What you're feeling is fear. What you're feeling is an instinctive, desperate need for you to want to be the one that caused it. As weird as it sounds, it's comforting. If we can convince ourselves that we caused the breakup, well, I can take action and fix a wound that I caused. If the reason we're not together is on my end, I can change my end. I can fix my behavior. I can adjust my attitude. If it's something that I caused, then I can fix it. So instinctively, we want it to be our fault. And it also gives us a chance. It gives us something to take back to them. If we do this deep dive on ourselves and try to find out all the things we got wrong, if we can articulate all the mistakes that we made, then in our mind it's like, now I have this box of evidence that things can be even better. I have something of content. I have something tangible that I can take back to the person who broke up with me. And this is now my evidence that we can be even happier now. So we want it to be our fault. If I can think of 20 reasons that I messed up, then that's 20 examples that I can share with the other person to prove how much they mean to me, to prove in 20 different ways we can be better. So it's an instinctive, powerful drive for us to find reasons why we broke the relationship. But in a lot of cases, it's just that desperation. It's just that sincere desire to give evidence to the other person of why we can be even happier if they just come back. But it's not attractive. If you really didn't cause the breakup and you're chasing after them, trying to apologize for imperfections and flaws or just opinions, then that's not actually going to be strong evidence to them. It's not going to reignite attraction. That other person isn't going to go, wow, now that you just shared with me 35 different ways that you could have been better, I want you again. I feel that passion for you again. I feel excitement. My heart's racing thinking about getting back together with you because you shared insights and enlightenment. It doesn't work that way. The truth is, the more evidence you give them of how sorry you are for all these sometimes very authentic insights, deep insights, but it's not an attraction rebuilder. Most of the time, it's an attraction drainer, because what you're really telling that other person is, I'm so desperate to be with you that I've been micro-analyzing everything about me, and I came up with a list of 127 things to prove to you all the ways that I could be better. So see how desperate I am? I don't mean desperate. See how wise I am? See how weak I am? No, wait, I don't mean weak. I mean loyal. So to us, you feel like you're being authentic. You feel like you're being humble. You feel like you're displaying love. You feel like it's a demonstration of loyalty and the enduring power of your affection to that person. All those things are attractive. What the other person's hearing is, I hurt them so much that their mind is just lost in analyzing all the ways they could be better to keep me. And I'm the prize. So you're just reinforcing the idea that the person that broke up with you is the prize, and you're the person not worthy of the prize. So take a deep breath. Make sure you caused it. It'll be undeniable. You'll be able to, if you really caused the breakup, you'll be able to tell your 3 closest friends and your family, and all of them will agree, yeah, you were a douchebag. You shouldn't have done that. Yeah, you absolutely caused the breakup. Now, if you caused the breakup, it still doesn't mean you shouldn't do no contact. It just means, first, take accountability. If you go into no contact and you're the one that inflicted the wounds that caused the end of the relationship, well, why would the person that you wounded, why would the person that you betrayed suddenly have a wake-up moment because you stopped chasing them? If you finally push their affection out of their heart by repeatedly proving to them that their feelings don't matter, that you're self-centered, that you put yourself above them and the relationship, why would you going into no contact and reinforcing the idea that they don't mean enough to you to bother to fight for? Why would no contact work in that situation? In most cases, it won't work in that situation. So then the other problem comes about. We think, all right, well, I caused it, so what I need to do is I need to prove my regret. I need to prove my sorrow. I need to prove to them how sorry, how deeply, deeply sorry I am for causing this breakup by taking them for granted. I need to prove how sorry I am by burying them in apologies. I'm gonna tear my shirt. I'm gonna gnash my teeth. I'm gonna go buy flowers and a ring and show up at their door and get on bended knee and write them a love song with the radio over my head. I mean, I'm going to go all out to prove to them how sorry I am. And when they say it's not enough, I'm going to say, hey, that's okay. I don't deserve for you to forgive me yet. So I'm going to keep apologizing. That'll prove to you how much I understand. That'll prove to you that I'm the one for you. I'm the guy that's not going to quit fighting for us now because I took you for granted for 5 years. Now I'm going to chase you endlessly for 5 months. That doesn't work either. Take accountability. Show the humility, show the accountability, show the insight, show the wisdom, show the empathy for the pain you caused. Step into it, own it, apologize. But don't apologize with an attachment of, I'm so sorry, if you can forgive me, we can make this work. If you can forgive me and give me one more chance. By asking for one more chance, you're kind of accidentally proving that you're not really sorry. There's a good chance you're just sorry because you've lost them. Being sorry because you have consequences to your action is not the same thing as being truly sorry. If you're truly sorry, one of the best things to say is, I don't deserve another chance. I understand why I lost you. I wish I had woken up. I wish I'd realized what it was going to cost me before you walked away. But I understand why you walked away, and you have every right to find somebody that doesn't take you for granted and can make you happy. I wish it had been me, but I blew it. But I'm sorry. I hope you can forgive me. I love you. If you ever give me another chance, I'll make the most of it, but I understand why you're not. That's a sincere apology. That sounds like a more sincere apology. If I tell somebody, I'm really, really sorry, please come back, what they really hear is, please come back. What they really hear is, finally, my pain is enough for me to understand the pain I've caused you. Losing you hurts me enough that suddenly I care about all the ways I took you for granted. Taking you for granted wasn't really enough for me to wake up. It took me being hurt to care about you being hurt. But now that I care, now that I'm the one that's hurt, how about you come back? That's not really attractive, is it? And this person might finally feel like they're in a position of power. Why would they hand that power back to you? Just when for maybe the first time they're starting to feel a little bit of control of their own life and their own emotional status. Why are they going to hand that back over to you just because now you're the one in pain? So even if you did cause the breakup, no contact can still work. But take ownership, take accountability for what you got wrong, but articulate it with sympathy, with sincerity, and do it once. Then you want to prove two things. You want to prove you have the insight and the humility to take accountability and responsibility for the pain that you caused. That's important. That's number one. And number two, you still want to prove that you're strong enough to walk away from them. That seems contradictory, but nobody wants to be with you because you can't live without them. Desperation is not attractive. Taking accountability, showing growth, that's attractive, but it needs to be combined with strength, not desperation. Now, your guilt might make you think you need to suffer, you need to humble yourself, you need to be humiliated by constant chasing, but your guilt convincing you of that still doesn't make it attractive. So take a deep breath, take accountability, express it once, and then show the strength to still be able to walk away. One of the big waves, one of the big thought attacks, I call it, that's going to hit you if you're doing no contact. Number one is it's going to feel illogical. Like I said, you're going to want to fight for that thing. It seems like it's just within reach. So instinct and pain makes you want to reach out and fight for it. Fighting for it actually lowers attraction because it projects desperation. But the other thing is it just doesn't seem logical. It seems like after a breakup, it just makes sense that if you stop fighting, then nobody's fighting. Now it's hopeless. It's almost like a mathematical equation. There were two of us in this relationship. One of us wants out. Now only one of us is left fighting for this all-important relationship. If I do no contact, it's me giving up. Even if secretly I still want the relationship, no contact means I'm acting like I'm not fighting for the relationship either. Well, if they're not fighting for it and I'm not fighting for it, nobody's fighting for it, and now it just got hopeless. That's not true. It's built on a false premise that everything I just said is built on this assumption that if there's one person fighting for a relationship, you still have one. You need two people to have a relationship. The old joke I used to say is it would be like me saying, me and Jennifer Aniston, we still have a shot at a relationship because I've been fighting for this relationship for the last 30 years. I can't give up on it, or now we don't have a chance. We've never had a chance. By the way, I wouldn't trade my wife for Jennifer Aniston. I'm just trying to make a point here. The point is, if you have one person, you're already not in a relationship. The real question isn't, what can that one person do to get the second person back into the relationship? The main question should be, what can the one person do to trigger reattraction? Well, the number one thing you can do to trigger reattraction is to project strength. Another thing that's just part of human wiring, and this is really kind of the basis of why no contact works. Unless you're a sociopath or a psychopath, anytime somebody has given you a consistent sense of value, a consistent sense of importance and worth, and then they take it away, instinctively, we're wired to have insecurity, to have a sense of hurt, to have an instinctive sense of pursuit. We want to reclaim whatever that resource was that gave us a sense of worth, especially if it's the most important person in our lives. And normally in a romantic relationship, that's the most important person in your life. If the person who knows you best, who has the deepest connection, the most romantic and intimate connection, has just rejected you, unless you're a complete psychopath or sociopath, it's going to rock you. One of the people that knows you best has just rejected you. That's going to cause a wound to the ego. And I don't mean you're egotistical. It's going to hurt you. And because it hurts you, it creates a sense of, wait, what's wrong with me? What did I do wrong? Why is the person who was crazy about me at one time no longer even liking me enough to want to stay in a relationship with me? What's wrong with me? Like, I talk to people all the time that say, the strange thing is, before they broke up with me, I was thinking about breaking up with them. The funny thing is, I always felt like they were the lucky one. I always knew if they broke up with me or if something happened to us, I always knew I'd be okay. But then they broke up with me and this wave of pain hit me and I can't stop thinking about them. And now I realize just how important they were to me. It's that instinct. It's human nature. That human nature is probably tormenting you right now. Somebody that you might not have seen rejecting you just rejected you. You're probably in more pain than you expected yourself to be in. The principle I'm trying to articulate is working in you right now. But you're stopping it from working for you because now you're chasing, you're pleading. You're reinforcing the idea that they're the prize and you're the lucky person. That's not attractive. So again, what do we do? If there's two people, one of us stop fighting for the relationship, what does this one person do? Not keep fighting for the relationship. The one thing he can do is project strength. What's the one thing he can do or she can do to reignite attraction? Well, when we stop giving that consistent sense of worth that the other person is expecting, that's the most important thing we can do. That's one of the most powerful things we can do to get their attention. And if you've already chased before going into no contact, I mean, it's always better if you don't chase too much. But if you did chase, there is an advantage to that. They've probably gotten used to the idea that you're trying to talk them out of the breakup. Their ego is getting this inflated sense of worth. It's like one of the metaphors I use is the house and the porch. If you were in a relationship with somebody, imagine that relationship is like a house. When they broke up with you, it's like they were asking you to leave the house. Well, if you didn't want to break up and you tried to talk them out of it, and maybe you're still trying to talk them out of it, then it's like you went out the front door, but you camped out on the porch. A lot of people will even send like a clean slate message, and they'll say something like, okay, I did chase them for a couple of weeks, but then I told them, I accept the breakup. I understand this is what you want, but if you ever change your mind, I'll always be right here. If you ever need me, I'm always going to love you. Don't ever doubt that I want to be with you. So in other words, that house and porch metaphor, you just assured them you're not going anywhere. How do you expect the person who broke up with you to miss you if you keep promising them, making vows that you're never going anywhere, right? So if God forbid, if my wife comes home and breaks up with me, and I don't want to break up, so I try to argue, I try to talk her out of it. And then I tell her, hey, no matter what, if this is what you want, okay, but I'm never going to stop loving you. And if you ever change your mind, I'm going to be right here. In other words, I go out the front door and now I'm camped out on the porch, letting her know, hey, I'm right here. If you ever change your mind, I'm right here. I'll always be here. And somebody else walked up to her and said, hey, do you miss Coach Ken? Miss him? I don't have to miss him. He's right there. He's right on the porch. He told me when I broke up with him, he was always going to be there. So when we do that, when we keep chasing, we're on the porch. You can't miss somebody who's never gone away. You can't miss somebody who's promised you time and time again, you don't have to miss me. I'm always going to be here for you. It just gives them an extra boost to their ego, and it accidentally lowers your own worth. What you're telling them is, I can't get anybody other than you, and even if I could, I don't want anybody but you. You're the prize. You're the center of my life. I can't start even thinking about building a life outside of you because you're the cornerstone to my existence. That comes really close to worship, and worship isn't attractive. People want to be a part of somebody else's life that has an exciting life, that has an exceptional life. We're drawn to be part of an adventure with somebody. We're not drawn to somebody who can prove that they love us more than anybody. So the point is, when you're in a crisis state, don't trust that logic. That logic will make you panic. Panic is not attractive. It actually rattles your self-worth. It drains your sense of self-value even more. Like when you think about this, when you feel that panic hitting you, when you're about to do no contact or while you're in no contact. If you've ever seen one of the Bourne Identity movies, there's one where there's a reporter and Jason Bourne is telling the reporter, stay calm, stay cool, don't move. He's trying to tell the guy in a way to do no contact. Don't do anything. You don't want to do anything to get attention. You just want to stay calm. Well, in the movie, the reporter's like, the panic, the logic, the fear makes the reporter go, I'm not going to listen to Jason Bourne. And he goes running through the train station. And the sniper just goes, boom. So you're going to feel a lot like that reporter. You're going to feel a panic. Now, I know that's a fictional movie, but you can kind of put yourself in the mindset of that reporter. He was playing out all these what-if scenarios. If I don't do anything, the guy's going to zero in on me. If I don't do anything, I'm going to regret this. If I don't do anything, it's going to end poorly. So that panic, that fear, and what felt like logic inspires somebody to react. But don't react out of pain. Don't react out of this desperation to do something. That'll actually backfire, and it'll be more for you to have to overcome later. Another thing that people get wrong when they go into no contact is they don't have the right priority list. They don't understand how to really make it work. The number one goal of no contact can't be, and this is going to sound a little confusing, but it can't be just to win that other person back. If you're doing it just to win that other person back, even if it works, and it does work many times, even in that case, but it usually works temporarily. The number one goal, or at least consider it, You can't help what your heart wants. So some people are going, look, I'm telling you, I'm doing no contact just to win them back. That's my number one goal. Okay, granted. Sometimes you can't help what you want. But let's call that 1A. So 1A goal of no contact, win the person that you love back. 1B has to be that you remind yourself of your own value, of your own worth. You have to remind yourself and actually not get to just an emotional belief. You have to get to a sincere belief that you're strong enough and capable of living a happy life without them. That won't seem possible right now. I understand that. I'm not telling you to believe that you can be happy without them. You just have to know it, even if you don't believe it, as weird as that sounds. If you go into it and your sole goal is to win them back, right now you're just kind of in a, I call it the dark limerence state. There's all these hormones, all these emotions that are literally flooding your bloodstream and attacking your brain and your sense of self-worth. That person that you're so desperate to get back is not as perfect as you remember them. You're not as worthless. You're not as broken as you're going to feel right now. Them coming back isn't as hopeless as it's going to feel. There's all kinds of things that are hitting your bloodstream right now, putting you in that place of what feels like hopelessness. And the better you are at problem solving, the more analytical you are, usually the harder that's going to hit you. So you can't trust how you feel right now. If your main and only goal is to get that person back, then even when they come back, making somebody the center of your universe is highly unattractive. The main reason no contact works isn't because they're the focus. Initially, they start out as the focus. But if you're doing no contact the right way, you're in essence pretending to be strong enough to live without them. But your actions and your beliefs are a funny thing. If your actions and your beliefs don't line up, your consistent actions can change your beliefs. And I'm saying this from personal experience. I've done no contact multiple times. And the 2 times that I did it that really hurt the most, I was in overwhelming pain. I felt like I was in so much pain that it felt like physical agony. I couldn't go to sleep at night. And this is after I'd had years of relationship counseling. It's like the pain hurt so much, I felt like I was a trauma victim. I'm like shaking like this. I'm like on the couch wrapped up in a blanket. I can't sleep. If I ever do go to sleep, I'm having dreams. I'm just completely overwhelmed. I kept having images of some really dark thoughts, even though I wouldn't go down that path. I was in so much pain that my brain was just kind of taking me to a place that I didn't know I could emotionally hurt that much. I started doing no contact absolutely to try to get that person back. But I understood to do no contact, I had to project strength that I didn't feel. So you have to learn to just kind of let your emotions hit you. The more you resist the pain, the more you resist that just crushing sense of hopelessness and agony and desperation, the more it magnifies. The more you're like, no, I don't want to feel this. I can't feel this. And you keep pushing. It exhausts you. And your brain doesn't understand negative direction. So the more you tell your mind to stop feeling pain, all your brain hears is the pain. What about the pain? I need to stop feeling hopeless. I need to come up with some kind of plan. I need to come up with some kind of a strategy. It just becomes more and more of a crushing weight. So as weird as it sounds, let yourself feel what you feel, but you don't have to trust that what you feel is true. My mentor used to say, feelings are very real, but that doesn't make them true. So let yourself feel what you're going to feel. You can't really stop that. But tell yourself when you hear that whisper in your ear, it's hopeless. They're never coming back. I accept that it feels that way. I don't accept that feeling is actually evidence of truth. I can promise you, whatever state you're in right now, unless you're like 1 out of 5 billion couples that are really that lost, there have been thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of couples that are in a worse position than you are right now with your ex that ended up getting back together. And most of them would probably have told you it's hopeless. You can't trust what you feel, but you don't want to fight what you feel because it just magnifies it. So I had to learn how to just lay there at night sometimes with my eyes closed, hoping and praying that eventually that laying there with my eyes closed would turn into sleep. And maybe by the grace of God, that sleep wouldn't turn into a dream. But I would just kind of sit there and let myself feel the pain, let myself feel the waves of emotion, but consciously tell myself that doesn't make it true. That doesn't mean it's true. The truth is, I'm somebody that my ex at one time found to be very attractive. The truth is, I'm somebody that my ex at one time wanted to be with. I'm the person that at one point I couldn't have imagined I'd be where I am right now. But if it could shift from where it was to where it is, it can shift back. I've proven I've got what it takes to attract that person that just rejected me. It's just right now I'm in a weakened state of who I am. I've been emotionally beaten up. My head, my heart, everything about me is kind of turned upside down. This isn't the strongest version of me. and this is the person, this is the version of me that I'm trusting right now? No, take a deep breath. Don't trust what you're feeling. Don't let it overwhelm you. Just let yourself feel it. Imagine it's just like an ocean and you let that ocean wash over you, but you don't actually believe it's real enough to let it drown you. Accept the fact that maybe you're hurting a lot because maybe you have integrity, maybe you have sincerity. Maybe you're the one that's in so much pain, not because you're the lesser one. Maybe it's not because you're the weak one. Maybe it's not actually because they're the prize and you're the lucky person trying to get the prize back. Maybe you're hurting right now as much as you are because you were sincere. When you fall in love, you mean it. When you feel things very, very deeply. Have some admiration for your pain. Don't let that pain be something that just causes you overwhelming, soul-crushing shame. That's another thing that I hear from people all the time. When I'm in a call, they'll say, I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know why I'm such a fool. I don't know why I'm so stupid. I don't know why I'm so weak. I know it's pathetic. It's like the worst words in the words. Why? Well, because they meant it when they said they were in love. They meant it when they said that they were going to care about that person forever. That's not something to feel ashamed of. We just associate pain with weakness. We look at emotional pain like physical wounds. If I'm in this much pain, it must be because something about me is soft. Something about me is weak. Something about me might even be pathetic. And look, I can prove it because when I look at them, they seem fine. They seem happy. They seem strong. It's not true. Maybe they're selfish. Maybe they're caught up in a moment. Maybe they're shallow. That doesn't mean that they're the strong one. That just means that you're the sincere one. And while we're on the subject of them, that's what you have to be ready for too. So no contact is going to get scarier if it takes too long or if they start dating somebody else. That's when the panic gets magnified. A lot of times you start doing no contact. All right, I'm going to give it 30 days. Okay, I'm going to give it 45 days. Okay, I'm going to give it 60 days. Oh no, now we're getting really scary. Now that 60 days is starting to look like that worst case scenario of them getting further and further away. I can tell you literally hundreds of times people have come back way after the 2, 3, and even 4 month mark. So it doesn't mean because it hasn't worked yet, it's not going to work. The truth is you have to look at that no contact as time for you to prove and to regain your sense of self. Look at every day in no contact as a brick in the wall. And that wall is evidence that you're strong enough to be wanted. You're strong enough to stand on your own. You're reclaiming your sense of identity. You're reclaiming your sense of self-worth. You at least look at it like this. If I haven't heard from them in 3 months, here's what I know at least. I know at least they're going to look back and think, wow, I thought he was going to chase me, or I thought she was going to chase me every day, or at some point I thought she was going to reach out to me to try to get me back. But it's been 3 months, and that person I broke up with has proven they're strong enough to live without me. You're starting to build an opening so that if you do reach out later, it won't seem like it's coming from a place of desperation. So let's say that you do no contact and God forbid it's been 5 months and you haven't heard from them. Well, if you reach out to them in 5 months, it no longer looks like you're reaching out of weak desperation because you can't get over them. They don't know how much pain you've been in. They don't know that you've been hoping that they reach out. All they know is that you've shown enough strength, you've shown enough confidence, enough self-worth that you've been able to resist reaching out. So even if you do reach out after a few months, now it looks like it's coming from a place of strength. It looks like it's coming from an option for you to reach out, not because you were so weak and incapable of living without them. So you have a much better chance at getting a positive response. But now if they've been dating somebody else, that's another thing that really triggers the fear. And instinctively, we want to dive in and we want to compete with that other person. But understand this. You're not fighting a fair fight. You could be the most dominant. You could be the most high value. Head to head, you might be the better person. You might be watching this video right now completely mystified why your ex broke up with you to be with somebody else that the rest of the world would agree isn't anywhere on your level. But if they meet somebody else, the pillars of limerence, that euphoric, exciting sense of love that people talk about when they fall in love, like I'm floating on air, I'm on cloud 9, I've never felt this way before. That's called limerence. When some of the pillars of limerence is when somebody's new. If your ex is with somebody else, that somebody else is going to be new. So you could be the better person, but they get that aspect of being new. One of the other aspects is being forbidden. Well, if they just broke up with you, especially if you got monkey branched, that other person is new. That other person is forbidden. Another aspect of it is that it's uncertain. When you meet somebody and it's new, it's like, ooh, we're falling in love, but maybe this isn't going to go anywhere. I think it's going to go somewhere. This is so exciting. Well, that new person has new, they have forbidden, they have uncertain. They're also, in a way, perfect. Because anytime you're in limerence, fantasy is what you're caught up in. I just met this new person. Oh my gosh, they're amazing. I can't believe how great it is. We just blend with each other. We fit with each other. We're both so excited to see each other. So you're living in a false reality. You've got dopamine, you've got serotonin, you've got adrenaline. You've got all these things getting pumped into your blood, making you feel that kind of level of, I'm in love. When you're in that state of mind, you're kind of blind to the other person's flaws, and you haven't known them long enough to know what those flaws are. So to them, they really are the soulmate. They really are the perfect person. Now, if they've been with you for a while, they know all your flaws. They know all the challenges. They know all the areas of conflict. They know all the areas where it doesn't live up to fantasy. So you could be the better person, but you're going head to head with somebody that the other person has limerence for. You're going to lose. Even if you're the better person, you're going to lose. And if you dive in and try to compete with them, let's just say you're a 9 on a scale of 1 to 10. Your ex just broke up with you to go out with a 5. Well, they don't see that 5 as a 5. To them, they haven't been with them long enough to know their drawbacks. So to them, that 5 is like a 10. And now you come jumping in to compete with them. If you're competing with somebody that's not even on your level, you're validating that other person's worth. You're actually inflating your ex's ego. Because right now, when she was with you, if you're in a relationship for any amount of time, your ego isn't usually overflowing. You've kind of disappointed each other at least a little bit. You know where the flaws of the relationship are, so you're not feeling so great. Another thing that happens if you dive in and compete is you inflate that ego, that sense of self-worth and importance of your ex, the person you're trying to win back. So let's say their ego is right here. Well, they know you're after them, so it feels really good to be chased. It feels really good, even if it's painful. If you break up with somebody and they beg you and plead and chase, that's an ego boost. So you're boosting their ego. If they've got somebody new is telling them how great they are. They're in that euphoric limerence state. They're feeling wanted. So they have two people flooding that sense of worth. People tend not to move from that position. It's a pretty addictive position to be in, especially if while they were in the relationship with you, they felt like you were in the power position. Now they're not only in the power position with you, they have somebody else chasing them too. That's a really addictive place to be, and it feels good. So you chasing is only going to overinflate their sense of self-worth. It's going to magnify the importance and romanticize that new relationship because now you're becoming a hurdle. You're becoming an obstacle to them. They'll be talking about you. Hey, did he or she reach out to you today? Did your ex try to talk you into going back to them? Yeah, they called, and I told them that I decided to be with you. Aw, well now they have this love story. You trying to talk them out of being with a new person is a lot like the old story of the father forbidding the daughter to date the bad boy. As soon as the parents say you're not allowed to see him, well, what did the parents just do? They just magnified that attraction. They just made that guy forbidden. Well, forbidden never made somebody more attractive, did it? Of course it did. You don't want to be that for your ex and their new relationship. It's much better if you show the surprise strength to be able to walk away, because now you give them a sense of loss. Say her ego is here or his ego is here. They've got the new person and they've got you feeding that ego. If you stop chasing, you disconnect from that ego, you show the strength to walk away. If you show the strength to walk away, now at least they have a sense of loss. Give it time. Give them time to fall out of limerence with the new person. Give them time to see the flaws of the new person. Give them time to realize the person they lost in you is strong enough to not only survive without them, but maybe even excel. Now they have a sense of loss. One of the things people really want to avoid is breaking up with and losing a person that turns out to be the prize. None of us want to live with the regret of, I let that person go and that person turned out to be awesome. Now I have to live with that the rest of my life. You want to feed that fear by proving you're going to be the more awesome version of yourself, and now they're stuck with that person that's getting less impressive by the week. But initially it's going to be scary. So understand some of the things that are going to trigger you when you're starting out in no contact. It's going to be scary. It's going to feel illogical. And you're also going to feel like you're not being authentic. And that's one of the things that gets really scary. People will say, yeah, but I want them to know how much I love them. And even if they reject me, I want to at least have the peace of knowing I was honest about how much I love them. But think about that. That's not really the truest version of who you are. You're acting out in a moment of pain. And who you are when you're acting out in pain is not actually the truest reflection of who you are. The truth is, who you are is probably somebody who has enough self-respect to not want to be with somebody who doesn't want to be with them. If you have any kind of self-worth, you don't want to wake up and have to talk the person you're laying next to into staying in the relationship. You want the person you're with to feel lucky to be with you, just like you feel lucky to be with them. That's probably who you really are. But right now, when you're in pain, that pain will make you want to share and want to react and want to say things just out of agony. Like one of the examples I use is, this is really my voice. This is who I am. This is my real personality. If somebody set me on fire, I'm going to be in so much pain. My reactions are going to be intense. I'm going to be using different words. My behavior, everything about me is going to be leveled up to 100. That's not really who I am. That's who I am in pain. Right now, after the breakup, this isn't the real you. This is the real you in pain. The real you in pain is not the most attractive version of you. So if you react out of that pain, you're projecting a version of you that isn't the strongest and truest version, and that version will probably be rejected all over again and just magnify the pain. So take a deep breath. Remember who you really are at your strongest and act like that person even if you don't feel like that person. That doesn't make you inauthentic because you're not acting on the agony that's trying to motivate you to do and say things to relieve that pain. That's not the truest version of you. So remember you at your strongest. Remember you at your most confident. And even though you won't feel like it right now, act like that's who you are, because at the end of the day, that probably really is who you are. So it's not a matter of being inauthentic. It's just a matter of controlling the impulse and the reaction in the moment. If somebody cuts me off in traffic, I'm going to be mad. So I could say, well, I was inauthentic today when somebody cut me off and I didn't drag them out of the car and beat the living hell out of them. I felt like I was a phony. Was I a phony? Or was I just realizing that sometimes the strongest and best version of me doesn't listen to the strongest compulsion? I choose to act like a person that has some dignity, that has some self-respect, and has some control, because that's more effective, and that's a truer version of who I am anyway. Well, no contact is a lot like that. So I hope this helps. I know every situation is different. Details matter. So if I can help, please let me know. You can find me at realcoachken.com. And if this has helped, please give me a like, a subscribe, or a share, and I'll talk to you again soon. Thanks a lot.